I'm Daniel Benoit. I'm Daniel Benoit of the E.C.B.R.O. Discovery Project. And today I'd like to discuss with you um, some of my basic research and some studies and knowledge that I have. And some of this comes from our history here in North America. All right. Um, First of all, I'd like to uh, bring to you some knowledge that some of us may not be aware of. And that is with the primates. I'm going to actually America, um, and this is where I based a lot of my studies and research on, and my theory on why Bigfoot is a primate. Um, First of all, a lot of the research I've done on the known primates and studying the structures and all the various finds that we find here in North America when we're out in the field, um, why everything points to a primate. We know there is many species of primates. Um, First of all, one of my researches and one of my finds throughout my studies was by a Dr. John Flynn. He's a paleontologist. Uh, he's an expert on mammalian evolution. He's of the American Museum of Natural History. I'll just go over a few brief, statements and facts. I'm not going to get into a big discussion. I'm going to keep this simple. Many years ago, primates were here in North America. Primates also came to the New World of both continents, of North America and South America, which we believe, or they believe, Africa. Um, some scientists also believe early primates crossed the Atlantic Ocean on natural land laying rafts, which are vegetation rafts, floating rafts and stuff. Of course, they go with a statement of 10 million years ago. Now, my theory on that's a whole different subject as far as time ranges. Of course, that's how certain places in our country have exotic plants. A lot of them became natural here from floating over. Um, um, Also, which many years ago, of course, most of the continents were formed or actually gathered together as a whole, one group. Um, and then, all right. Also, fossils of primates have been discovered here in North America. Texas, for example. Of course, they were dating, according to scientists, 43 million years ago. Is the age of the fossils. All right. Of course, the fossils belong to a small primate. I am not going to even try to pronounce the word. It's Anaptomophus. Well, I will give it a try. The homunculus. It's an early North American primate. These primates came from warm climates and found North America suitable due to the warmth at that time. The primates today adapted to the food sources here, vegetation, insects, fruits, etc. And most of our land in the territory was actually considered one big, giant, large rainforest. Of course, even in Alaska, consider this, Alaska being a very cold, climate, they actually had found evidence of palm trees in Alaska, which is very interesting to know. Then later on, of course, through time, weather changed. It changed pretty rapidly with a Great Freeze, cold, which we know as the Ice Age. Um, then some or many believe that none of the primates survived or even adapted. However, the land bridge that was formed, or that came much later, um, coming from Alaska, created a gate that a lot of us are familiar with. Um, that was a gateway for many species. All right. Um, so you know, with all that being said, knowing that we had primates here and all the land masses were grouped together before everything separated from the flooding and the settling of everything changing. You got to consider: oh, is it impossible that we still have primates here? No, it's not impossible. It is very possible. There's evidence of it here. What is the evidence, you may ask? Well, have you done your research on our known primates, their behaviors, their actions, their vocalizations? And, look at the structures that we find. A lot of primates make these structures for various reasons, regardless if they're for shelter, territorial, also one of the other signs are for dominant, showing their dominance to each other or to others, warning signs. These are all little facts that point towards our known primates. We have many species of known primates. These known primates, they all share similar traits and behaviors. It's like a natural instinct to them. For example, this is kind of silly, but like a cat in a litter box. It's a natural instinct for a cat to use a litter box. Same thing with the other animals. They all have their own natural instincts. Their intelligence is beyond our knowing, and that's why we are not to underestimate our primates. A simple chimpanzee alone has a strength probably 5 to 10 times as a human being does. So consider this: when you go out in the woods and you see these massive tree breaks and with the limbs and twisted and snapped. Yes, we know a lot of them. A lot of them are from bears. Bears like to play with trees, but they're not all bears. These are done by the primates that we have here in North America. Okay, and you're probably asking, well, what primates do we have here in North America? Well, hello, we have a Bigfoot, Sasquatch, large hairy man, as many call it. I could go into other names as well. Now, dating way back, our Native Americans have their own history and record of the Sasquatch here in North America. Sasquatch is a part of their heritage. Native Americans, of course, they were native to this country. They were here before any other mankind has discovered or came across this land to take as their own. Many tribes, the Cherokee, even Alaska and Canada, the Canadian Indians that settled here in North America, the Micmac tribe. Every species, every tribe has their own record or legend of the known Bigfoot. Other things to go into detail, to make a long story short, you cannot dismiss all the history of sightings and encounters that individuals have alone. We cannot rule out that every single one is a hoax or a lie. For those who have not seen one, you got to consider that there's others that are seeing something. You cannot call them all liars. Some of these people were police officers and people of high authority, well respected figures. All right. Well then, for the non-believer or skeptic, well, why haven't we found any remains of fossils? Well, that actually kind of brings me into another subject here. Fossils. For one thing, how long do fossils remain? Can primate fossils or skeletal remains exist to our visibility? From many years ago? Yes, they can, but I'm going to tell you, it's very unlikely and almost impossible. But there's a few factors that depend on if they still remain. Your climate, temperature, weather, also the environment, habitat, location, and the type of soil. And then depending on all the above that I just named, it all depends on the perseverances of the bones or the remains. It was also once stated that primate bones have been known to deteriorate a lot quicker than human or other species. That's an interesting fact right there. All right. Well, they go into a little biology. The study of skeletalization, which is also known as taphonomy, which is Taphonomy. Study of skeletalization. The skeletalization, which is the decay of bones. This phase is extremely important to archaeologists, and also what happens after the body or flesh is decomposed. You got different stages that you go, the body and the bones and remains go through. After the flesh is gone, the decomposition is not the end. All right. A lot of people are familiar with livor mortis. All right, and there's also stages of rigor mortis and also algor mortis. These are the stages which livor mortis is the blood flows and settles into a pool or into one area of the body. Rigor mortis, the muscular tissue becomes rigid and incapable of relaxation or relaxing. Then algor mortis, the body loses heat and cools down. All right. Then the body goes into what is called bloat. All right. Keep in mind, again, time, weather, temperature, and soil type all play a major role or part in the preservation of the remains. All right. Also, with all the three stages of livor, rigor, and algor mortis, and then with the body going through bloat, gases are then formed by microbes growing rapidly. Then, of course, bugs and insects come and do their part, along with continued fluids doing their part in the decomposition stage. All right. And as all this takes place and plays a breakdown in the whole body mass, you then have your bones. And then through time, not all bones remain visible due to certain conditions. Again, you'll hear me continue to repeat the weather and temperature. Then the other part that I mentioned earlier is the soil type. In a lot of areas, some ground and some soils have a very high acid level, The acidic soil or the acidity levels in soils have a major effect on the preservation of bone remains. As acidity or acid increases in the soil, the bones are not likely to be preserved. Types of soils have effects on preserving. Um, Sand can preserve very well, whereas salt and chalk are destructive to bones. Um, then again, taphonomy really affects what we find and how we analyze. So there's different types of soil, different types of acid soil. Um, to try to stay with me on what I'm trying to get at. Um, a lot of your areas, like the North Pacific West, which is well known as the rainforest, um, areas that get or maintain a lot of acid or heavy rain pours, create a heavy level of acid in the soil. Therefore, when not just primates but any other species, um, their remains become very unlikely to be found or discovered. Um, um, let's see. Now, as far as other remains, I had spoke of this in another blog. When it comes to bears, bears are a good example of bone remains being found. Let me ask you this: how many bones or remains of a bear have you found that died of natural causes? Um, I think your chances are uh, maybe 1 out of 1,000,000. Um, it is a very rare thing to find, if found. If you found remains of a bear that possibly died of natural causes, consider yourself very blessed, and that you made that kind of a discovery of a bear. Um, most bears are very intelligent, and I believe a lot of bears go into hiding when they know their time of death is near. Um, Therefore, I compare bears and Sasquatch to be very similar with their behaviors, and they share a lot of similar traits, even though a bear is not a primate, but their actions and habits and behaviors are very similar. Even their food sources are very similar. I believe they share the same food sources. Um, it's one thing. That's why I do compare bears and Sasquatch together for those very reasons. Um, I hope this gives you a little bit of knowledge on fossil remains, why fossil remains are not found. Um, Again, it's the acidity in the soil, um, and back to why I believe Sasquatch is a primate, because we have known primates that were here in North America many years ago. Not all the species were known back then, but consider that we do still have primates here in North America. They may not be the primates that we see on TV in Africa. They may not be the primates that we see in a zoo, but we have a very large bipedal primate roaming our homeland of North America. The facts are out there why they do exist. Eyewitness accounts, all right, discovery of foot tracks, analyzed, the structures found. Um, they all point and relate to the other known primates, which like I told you, all primates share similar traits, behaviors, and habits. These are simple things to consider. These are things that I advise you to do your research and look deeper into what I've looked into. Um, I shared some basic, short, brief notes. I hope what I said made sense. I am not the best when it comes to explaining. A lot better when I can put it down on paper or type it out and explain it a lot easier than I do verbally, like I am doing now. Um, I do advise you to feel free to ask me questions. There's a lot more notes and a lot more studies that I have found and that I have documented. If I do not have the answer, I will find it for you, and I have other researchers that are all part of the E.C.B.R.O team, and due to their experiences out in the field, they have a lot of knowledge. And like I said, I invite you to ask me questions. Feel free to share your comments. The E.C.B.R.O, we're an organization based out of the East Coast. Right now, I am also engaged in the E.C.B.R.O Discovery Project. It is a discovery project. It's the purpose behind that. First of all, the name tells it all. We're all about making discoveries. It's not just about physical discoveries, but it's also about educational discoveries. We're here to educate and learn and set assumptions into facts, and educate what many believe in theory, and maybe change a few things around. There's all kinds of theories floating around out there, but it's time to set the record straight. And me and my team, we plan on doing that. Continue to follow and keep up with our blogs and our postings and our evidence of research. And again, feel free to ask questions. If there's something I discussed on this blog that you did not understand, please ask. Sometimes I am not clear on how I discuss or share things, but I'll be glad to get everything taken care of for you. Till next time, this is Daniel Benoit. I am the founder of the E.C.B.R.O, and I hope to meet with you guys soon, and be on the lookout for my monthly blogcast. I got the E.C.B.R.O Discovery News blogcast, and also we have E.C.B.R.O Uncut. I do have a few other guests lined up, and I do advise you to tune in when we have our monthly shows. Watch, and please be patient. Sometimes we have technical difficulties, audio, network connections. Sometimes we lose our broadcast. So if you please remain on standby, we will be up and going. When we plan on having a show, we will have a show regardless of how it works out. So thank you again, and I hope to meet you and talk with you all soon. Thank you.